Glorianne.
Good morning.
Like just you and I today?
Yes, and Marcia, and then Director Danziger is coming, and Chief Winokur, and Ahmad as well. So,
Come on.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, Steve.
Hi. Okay, there I am. Hello. We're waiting for the auditor.
I think the chief is for
Hey, the chief is in the house.
Good afternoon, sir. I was suddenly realized I was wearing the wrong shirt. So there was a mad scramble to get the tie tied.
Are we recording already? Yes, we are. Never mind. I see it.
And we are live streaming as well.
Okay. Oh, okay.
All right. Noting the time, Marcia, if you're ready to open the meeting.
It is 11 o'clock. We can call the meeting to order.
Please do.
Director Danziger
He present.
and Director Jex.
President.
All right, we'll move to public comment for items not on the agenda. I'm not aware of any written comments received.
And we do not have any hands raised.
Okay, outstanding. Next, we have the consent agenda, item 3.1, which is the committee meeting minutes from October 25th, 2021.
Do we need a motion?
We do, sir.
Oh, I'll make a motion to accept those meeting minutes from October.
I second the motion.
Director Danziger
Aye.
and Director Jex.
Aye.
All right, next we'll open the regular agenda to review the external auditor's audit plan, anticipated non-audit services, and the scope and activities of the audit.
Is Ahmad on?
He's not on. I just called him. He didn't answer. I spoke with him on Friday. Marcia had sent him the Zoom link. He had all the information. So it looks like he's running a little bit behind today.
Okay, I hate to start this process without him.
Yes, sir. I'd recommend we hold for just a moment to give him a chance to come up.
All right. There we go.
Gloriana, have they been into the office yet?
No, they have not. The auditors have not been in the office. They haven't audited anything yet for fiscal year 2022.
Okay.
Are they going to be able to, are they going to physically come in this year? Do we know that? Or,
That's, I think, one of the items on the agenda.
okay, okay.
Maybe I could just give a little preamble in terms of the role and purpose of the audit committee. There's basically 5 key things that, we are focusing on. First of all, have the oversight of the financial reporting and related internal controls of the district. To review of filings and related reports that are issued as a result of audit activities or other financial reporting requirements. Risk management oversight, and then oversight of the independent auditor and performance of the firm in terms of our engagement. And then the last item is the ethics and compliance. Most of these items will be addressed in the audit plan that you see up on the screen. And my objective would really be to just go down each item. And I think Glorianne or Mary, I think I saw, isn't she on the, yes, okay, Mary, you're there. Feel free to make comments because some of them relate to management's involvement and their observations and will be, I think, important. And then, of course, some of them are specifically directed to the audit firm.
I just spoke with Ahmad, the auditor, so he's coming on now.
Welcome, Ahmad.
Good morning. Sorry, Blake.
We just went through, Ahmad, the purposes of the meeting. I indicated, one is the oversight responsibility of the committee for financial reporting and then review of the related reports that are issued, risk management oversights, and then the oversight of the independent auditor, and there's the ethics and compliance. And so we thought that the easiest way to do that is you'll look at the questions that were up on the agenda and that we were issued. We just go through them item by item, and some of them comments should be made by management, and then some basically by the outside auditor. So why don't we just start with those that are under the risks and control heading, and just take each one by one. The operational, business, and financing risks identified by management and the auditor at this point, at least in your audit plan process, and basically what's been going on for the last 6 to 9 months that might impact this year.
Yeah, just to confirm, this question is for me, Director Jex, is not for management, right? Director?
Yes, and
Yes.
management.
Yeah, so the financial risks, as always is the case, it's, you know, how the industry is changing, how your revenue is changing, the impact of the external environment on the audit itself will always have a significant impact on the way that we do our audit. This is an economy boom, obviously, and there's going to be some changes in the streams of revenues that you will be receiving. So that's probably something that we'll always take a closer look at, you know, how you receive your property taxes and how that is accounted for. A significant change also is the stock market and how that's going to impact the calculation of many of the long-term items that you have over there, which includes your pension. You're going to be surprised this year, and again, because of the flux in the stock market, that the net pension liability, well, I don't know about Cicera, but what we're seeing out there with the other pension plans is that the NPL is going to drop a little bit. Not a little bit, maybe a little more than a little bit, just because of the performance of the stock market. So we haven't really finalized the audit plan, but you know, if the board has any feedback about that, or if there's any additional items that we probably would be that we need to take a look at, would be more than happy to incorporate that into the audit plan.
Lorianne, are there any areas or issues that you know of? Obviously, we've still been, I guess, operating remote. And Mary, any comments you have based on your observations of what you're currently engaged with?
Yes, there's 7 items that I wanted to bring to the attention of the audit committee and the auditor. So the first is that the district changed banks for the operational account and the payroll account from Citibank to JP Morgan Chase. The second is that we implemented a lockbox for check payments in order to improve internal control. Third is that we changed our accounting system. It's the same accounting system, the same software, but we moved to the cloud-based version. So that is a third change. The fourth change is that the district implemented a new MOU in November 2021. The new MOU included a new benefit, which includes a monthly payroll contributions to a retiree health savings account that was established with Mission Square. This new benefit also includes a conversion of vacation hours for some employees to the retiree health savings account. Then the fifth thing is that we continue, admin and finance staff particularly continues to work remotely. And finally, the board in December of 2021, the board accepted a $6 million grant to build a new fuel break, and the grant is from the state of California. So that's the other item that I identified for audit this year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Glorianne. And the change in the accounting system would be definitely something that we'll have to take a look at. I know it's not a full change of the accounting system, but definitely the controls and the access controls is definitely something that we will be taking a look at.
Ahmad, I think was mentioned the volatility in the market, which impacts the both assets that we carry with regards to the pension fund and for the OPEB fund as well, as well as the impact, I guess, on the union fund that their report is typically what, 6 months
Yep.
arrears.
Yes.
And so the numbers that we got, which were very positive, some of that by the time we are issuing the report in another 5 months from now could be quite different.
Likely. The one that I was looking at was CalPERS, and CalPERS again is 12 months lag. It's a measurement date is what they call it. And the performance was just, it had a significant impact on the net pension liability. But again, the way that the discount rate is calculated, it incorporates those fluxes, those up fluxes and down fluxes. Is typically incorporated in the projection. And again, it's a projection of what the liabilities are going to be. But definitely it is something that we will take a
If there was a significant downturn from that number that we report, typically we have not had in the past any additional update, posted date disclosure with regards to things that have or will change respectively. I mean, that
Yeah.
could be an additional item in the disclosure.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Anything, Mary, that you have? Okay. Why don't we go on to the, I think we've covered the first three. The auditor's management letter from 2021. Anything we want to discuss there?
Yeah, so we had no findings. Normally, if you have a finding from the prior year, come back in and then you'll follow up on it in the subsequent year. But last year, we did not have any findings.
Okay. Any problem areas noted in the prior year's auditor's letter that we already just talked about? Any internal control risks?
Right. So whenever you have a change in accounting system and you have a change in your the lockbox and change in the banks and authorized signers and all of that is definitely something that we have to take a look at this year.
Okay, then the next item, the workplace significant stress and strain on the control environment, the remote. I mean, this is the second year we've done this. Any particular issues either with the firm doing it? I have a little insight in terms of having talked with some other firms that serve clients or companies that I'm on their board or audit committee of. And as I understand from them, there's been some real turmoil in terms of turnover and loss of staff by some of the firms, resulting in actually resigning in many cases from work that they can't take care of, as well as issues with regards to recruitment of new personnel to serve. Maybe you want to address that issue right now, Ahmad.
Yeah. So we, as with many of the other firms, and remember, iBiddy is also a very large firm. I mean, we have about 3,000 people in there, and we have resources to recruit and have remote employment at the same time. So we have the ability to do so, including using resources from India as well. But even with that, it's just the industry that we service employs, specifically in the Bay Area, employs entry level quite a bit. We rely quite a bit on college graduates. It's just the way that public accounting works. And yes, we have experienced significant turmoil and significant turnover. And I had mentioned this briefly to many of my clients, and I'm gonna open the topic actually with you guys right now to let you know early on so that you can make the decision and have enough time to make the decision as to who you would wanna employ as auditors, because Um, we will likely not be able to meet the standard deadlines that we've had in the past. We've had significant resignations and the salary increases that my staff and seniors typically is where I'm losing them. They're getting about 40 to 50% increases over their standard salary, if not even more. And I believe we've always completed the audit. We substantially complete the audit by like mid-September. And then for a few weeks after is just making the final touches on the report. We will unlikely be able, and we've typically issued the report and presented it to the governing board by early November or late October, I can't remember when. At this point, we will not be able to meet that deadline. It's just not going to happen. This is the last year on the contract as well. So what will happen, and it's the district's call as to how you want to deal with this situation, but we will likely not be able to complete the audit until December, and if not, maybe January. And so what we're doing is just spreading these audits for the remainder of the staff that remains with me over a longer period of time, and therefore we can accommodate some of that work. So that's really what's happening out there. It's not just Hyde Bailey. I can't imagine what the smaller firms are going through, but it's just Bay Area wide type of thing that is happening out there. I believe it's the housing market and the ability to remote workly. It's causing quite a bit of a decline in terms of the available talent within the Bay Area.
I also understood that your hiring, I assume, typical of some of the other firms that I'm aware of, have had to raise their rates substantially in order to recruit personnel, and so that would affect the cost of the audit, I assume.
That's correct. So at the end of the day, I'm calling many of my clients, and I'm not the only firm that is doing this. This is across the Bay Area. That's what's happening in there, is that the money that we're asking, the increase in the fees is 100% passing through to the staff. It's not going to the partners. It's just the category of people that we hire are, between 0 experience and maybe 4 years of experience. And those are the ones that are turning over in mass. And so, yes, the salary increases that they're receiving, I'm just instead of putting percentages, I'm going to put $1 in there, is roughly $40,000 to $50,000 per staff. And they're not going to smaller entities or smaller agencies. They are going to these firms. I call them the Big Four. Director, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with who those are. And those are glamorous names for so many of them. And so they're heading out over there and finding jobs. There's no problem for them to find these jobs. And these Big Four firms are paying them to just take them in because they are having a hard time finding people as well.
Let's go back to the issue of the timing. Our timing requirement is what, December 31st, Glorianne?
So it's December 31st for purposes of the GFOA review of the ACFR report. But that is not a requirement. The district does not have to participate in that program. And so I don't think that there is really a deadline of December 31st.
Yeah, and you can always, Glorianne, apply for an extension with GFOA as well.
Is that for GFOA? Is that basically to get the certificate of excellence, whatever it's called, the certificate, right?
That's correct. So
okay.
The practice, yes, Director.
They don't do any. Is it just solely for GFOA that we got it in meeting certain guidelines? they don't actually review the audit, right?
It's a process review, sir. So the following GFOA shows that we're following best practices. However, there is not an external requirement as there is with the adoption of our budget that it be
Right.
completed by a certain date. So to
Got it.
Ahmad's point, should the board decide to proceed under these conditions, knowing that we are unlikely to meet the end of the year, we can request a GFOA extension in light of the extenuating circumstances. And I believe I defer to obviously the directors on this, but it would be appropriate to disclose that we were not going to make the timeline with the explanation that this was not indicative of the district either losing interest or trying to water down the audit process. It was just in response to the extenuating circumstances the auditor is experiencing.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I say, I think it's an industry-wide issue. I mean, like I said, I just was on the audit committee about 2 weeks ago, and the auditor raised the very same issue you just talked about, Ahmad, and indicated that it's been very difficult and that they had to resign from some of the accounts that they could not service.
Hmm.
You indicated that you're having or bringing in staff from India and other places. How is that working?
Yeah, so it's on the staff and senior level is where we're seeing the turnover firm-wide. And so Bay Area is very, very challenging. Now, California in general is very, very challenging, but we have branches in other states, and so we are able to hire some people, but it's just going to take me a year or so to bring them up to being able to complete the audits themselves. And the idea is we have to continue to be in the Bay Area, so we have a specific quota as to how many we can hire remotely, and currently we've increased that a little bit so that we can accommodate remote hiring. But yes, we are working with the firm's HR department to recruit those new people.
Okay. I guess aware of that, Steve, I don't know whether you have any reaction or feelings.
Well, but
I
I would just think that we, like the chief mentioned, to the board's concerns, I would think that it's too late for our meeting next week, but I would think on the next agenda, we'd probably want to put something on informational to have the board be aware of it.
Yeah, we normally have a report from the audit committee,
Audit committee. Okay.
and I think that would be the place where we would probably want to do it. Shouldn't be something we'd have to agendize. If it's just a report from the audit committee to the board next week. Or let's say, no, it's this Wednesday.
On Wednesday?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
we've met.
okay. And so, and Glorianne, from your perspective, having the audit delayed, any big impact on that? I mean, from your perspective?
Right. I would just, right. So the audit committee report is on the agenda for Wednesday evening. So I would encourage the audit committee to please, just because the getting the financial statements to the board has been a significant priority, to get it to them by November, and the board has wanted, timely financial statements. So I would just encourage the audit committee to just clarify with the board of that, that under this circumstances, if you remain with Eide Bailly, then the board will not receive audited financial statements until 2023. So, probably January or so of 2023. So I would encourage the audit committee to make sure that's clear to the board and for the full board, because the full board hires the audit firm and the audit firm works for the board. So I would encourage the audit committee to make sure that the full board understands and that everyone's on board with either accepting, that the audited financial statements probably won't come until January or February of 2023, or to go see if there's an option to find a different firm.
The question, Glorianne, too, is there's nothing in our existing debt agreement. I think there was a certain filing requirement in connection with the bond loan.
So there's one debt agreement left, and that is for the debt that was used to pay for the construction of Station 43.
43.
Right, and that debt was issued with JP Morgan Chase Bank. So annually, I have to send them the audited financial statements. I send them to JP Morgan Chase Bank. So that's a requirement of the audit.
And it's no date.
Right, I think it is within 6 months. I'll have to check that, but I do, within 6 months of the end of the fiscal year. But I think with the circumstances, obviously this is affecting, everybody in the Bay Area. So I think if we, inform them of what was going on, we probably could get an extension on that.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Okay.
All right.
I guess at this point in time, I'm not sure we would need to pursue other options because I think we're going to find the same situation. It's not, I think it's pretty universal in terms of the issues that are happening, particularly in the size firms that we're talking about. Okay, I think the next item on the thing was cybersecurity risks, ransomware attacks. Glorianne, you want to address anything? Have we had any instances?
We had one instance this year that it affected was Kronos, which is our telestaff, which is the district's official timekeeping system. So Kronos, which is an international company, they suffered a cyber attack. So we did our DNI, our IT people responded by putting different controls onto the telestaff access for our personnel. So that has been the one cybersecurity issue that we had in this fiscal year.
And we also, if I may, we also engaged California Office of Emergency Services. They offer a red cell probing of the system to identify any weaknesses in our cybersecurity. That was conducted without notification of DNI, so it was run in a realistic environment, and they probed our system. They found no major deficiencies that required correction, and essentially validated that our cybersecurity posture is robust.
Great, I appreciate that. I wasn't aware of that. When did this take place?
October, November. Is that right, Gloria? I'd have to pull up the actual.
So it was last fall.
Yes, sir. I'll share a copy of the report.
Great. Anything, Ahmad, you have in your observations in terms of other districts?
We've looked at the password protections and idle time type of things. We're at the user level more than it is at the cloud level. Obviously there's a system change or a slight system change this year. So it is another thing that will go through our standard audit procedures as well.
Okay. Anything with regards to the government rulemaking activities? I'm not aware of anything from Governmental Accounting Standards Board.
Yeah, there's 87, which is the leases. I don't think that you have any of that applicable to you. It's long-term leases that have to be reflected differently on the financial statements. I don't believe that there's any with respect to the district.
Okay. Anything on automating manual activities or improving efficiencies? Glorianne or Mary, did you have?
No, we continue to try to pay more invoices through an ACH process as opposed to issuing a manual paper check, just because it's better, more efficient, and it's more secure. So we continue to evaluate payments that way.
What percentage of ours do we do that way now? Of a typical month or vendors?
Probably 10%.
So it's pretty low.
Yes.
Because the vendors don't accept it?
No, most vendors accept ACH now. Right. So we continue to move in that direction.
Okay.
think that that would be, a good idea because it is a lot more efficient. Okay. The question about use of data and analysis. What type of analysis do we do on an ongoing basis internally with regards to data, using data analysis that's available with regards to comparative activity with other districts and so forth?
On a quarterly basis, I provide a quarterly update to the board of directors, which includes data analysis in terms of
Right.
comparing to the district. Right. So that, and then as part of the audit process, Ahmad can discuss what their analytical review entails as well.
Yeah, so we use a software. It's called Teammate Analytics, and what that software does, it kind of picks on unique types of transactions. Items that are processed. It has the ability to read into your downloaded files that we obtain from the district, and it has the ability of flagging out unusual transactions, such as, I'll give you an example, processed transactions on the weekends, or multiple transactions that didn't have any sense in it. I don't know what else does it have, but it has quite a bit, very powerful software that we use when we do transaction testing at the district. And that is the primary focus whenever we do our audit, especially during the test of the internal controls, just to make sure that there is a review process. Definitely it is something that we always use in our audit.
Okay. Appreciate that very much. I think, data analysis, and I think, Glorianne, what you've been doing with the charts and so forth, it is helpful because it helps to interpret what's going on. I think we use some of that in some of the 4 parts of every, month when we look at the financial statements. There's some data analysis and graphing that, it tells a picture, I think, quite nicely. So I appreciate those. Let's go down to the ones under the audit firm. And I think we've talked about these, this research, engagement, communication. Any comments with regards to those items? You talked about losing some of the senior personnel. In terms of the quality control systems within the firm itself, anything we need to be aware of in that regard?
Not with respect to the quality control, with respect to the reviews. The managers are still reviewing these engagements. We will not issue any set of financial statements. We will not issue an opinion on any set of financial statements unless we make sure that our audit had met the standard. We do have a fully dedicated National Assurance Office director. I'm pretty sure you're acquainted with that.
Yes.
Reviews our work papers, and they ensure that we meet the standards. From our perspective, the audit, when it's completed, it will meet the standard. That's for sure.
Is the quality review done internally here in the Bay Area by another partner on the engagement, or what is the process?
It's in Minneapolis, and it's done by the National Assurance Office.
So, okay.
And that's the location of, effectively, the headquarters of the firm. It's located in Minneapolis.
So how long does that process take?
The multiple levels of reviews. In the very first year, when they looked at the work papers, they actually did a thorough review of the confirmations, the audit procedures themselves. In subsequent years, it's just ensuring that the report itself meets the standards, and then alongside with it comes a selection of the significant area that we identified as high-risk areas. So definitely, they will look at whatever that we assess in there in terms of high risk, the change in banks, the change in the accounting system. It is something that is different than what it was last year, which is something that will be looked at. But not all the work papers will be reviewed.
Is there still or I don't know how your firm, is there an outside firm that sometimes is engaged to do an outside review?
Yes, and I believe, but that's the internal inspection process and the internal reviews. Those are, perpetual on an annual basis. But we do have the AICPA appoints the reviewer, which is, I believe, a firm that comes out of Florida, and it will be your audit actually. The 22 audits will be subjected to the AICPA triennial review.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Any other comments under the other items there? Audit firm.
No. I do want to say that we have a contract through 22, and we're committed to that. But I just want to say, in order for me to be able to retain people, I have to increase those fees. So just in anticipation of what will happen once this contract is completed, we are interested in working with the district. Management does an amazing job in responding to our inquiries, and we have no audit adjustments. And yeah, I mean, when you have audit adjustments, that kind of takes quite a bit of some time. There's quite a bit of some hours, but the district does produce clean books. So the audit is fairly easy and simple. But in order for me to retain people, I must increase those fees. So in the interest of time, and I do understand if the district wishes to, solicit services from other auditors, and maybe some auditors that are not experiencing the same thing that we're experiencing, I'll be doubtful. But just in anticipation of that, the fees will go up substantially in the subsequent year.
Would it be appropriate to talk about that for the current year?
Yes, I mean, and what this does is that so again, I have to replace individuals that I already have, and the difficulty that we're facing is that with government, which is what we do, which is what this team does, is that we're contracted. So what effectively is happening is a deferral of the solution to the problem, which is to be able to compete in the market and be able to own talent and be able to hire people right now, as opposed to next year. So the later I do the fee increase, the later it will be for me to be able to hire people and pay them the appropriate amount of money, so that I can retain them and not lose them to go for others. And I think the biggest hit for me and my team is that you can always find people from college, because college people, they take about a year to train them, and that's when it's hitting us. It's after a year of them working in public accounting, they get absorbed by the larger firms. And so what we're doing here with many of my clients, I'm telling them, we're just deferring the problem. That's what we're doing there. At the end of the day, we have to match what's out there in the industry and in the market. In order for me to do so, I have to raise those fees. And if it would be acceptable for the governing board to say, yes, those fees should be raised, then we'll do it now as opposed to later, that's for sure.
Well, I think for one, we need to address it currently so that we are fair to you. I mean, like I said, I don't think you're going to find, or I don't think we would find, if we went outside, that we would find the same quality and the same support that you've provided to us in your firm. And so we want to be fair straight with you that recognizing what's happening, that it's going to be expensive or more expensive to provide audit services and the kind of services that we've gotten in the past if we don't. So anyway, that at least that's my opinion in regards to it, because it is universal. Okay, under audit scope, in light of the current anything in terms of the accounting and reporting developments, I think I already addressed that one. I don't think there is anything. And I think, Glorianne, you covered the changes in the organization's activities, changes in accounting policies. We've talked about audit timing. And so we're really looking at sometime probably in January to be realistic in terms of being able to. And personnel assigned in the engagement, I think we've talked about that. There's a little uncertainty at this point in time, maybe in terms of how that's going to be staffed.
Yes, the manager will be there, and the manager has been with the district for, I believe, 3 years now. It's just, you know, the seniors and the staff that will be working on the engagement where we don't know who that's going to be.
Okay. Anything on the rotation? I assume we'd be rotating like we've done in the past in terms of certain focus on certain sections of the audit or systems.
Yes, and so that will be incorporated in the risk assessment of just right now. What we're looking at is significant influx of revenues that will probably be a focus area for us, just because of what's happening in the market in there, and confirming these balances alongside with the influxes in the investment balances that are out there. Looks like there's some internal changes, so those are definitely areas that we will be looking at as well.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from anyone on the call?
No.
So with regards to the report back at the board, how do we want to present other than talk about increased cost? And that at this point in time, we don't have an estimate of that amount. Is that correct?
Well, I can work on an estimate and just give you what the projected fees will be. Whether it's this year or next year, it's not going to be substantially different. But in relation to the existing contract, it will be substantially different. I can definitely pull up the hours and pull up what we're doing with staffing and how much we're increasing them, and let you know what that number is going to be.
Why don't you do that and send that to Glorianne?
Sounds good.
Ahmad, we have our meeting on Wednesday evening, so if we can have it by then, it'd be good.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I had. Any questions or items you want to discuss, Steve?
No, I'm good. You're
Okay.
very thorough. Thank you, Ahmad.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mary.
Thank
And thanks, I guess, Marcia, you're going to do the minutes of the meeting?
Yes, I'll do the minutes.
And
Okay.
I think we do have some members of the public on. I just want to make sure nobody has any hands raised or anything. No comments.
We do not have any hands raised, and we've not received any written public comment.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff.